Shalom, shalom, shalom. Grace and peace. Wonderful day. I pray everybody's doing good today. And get ready for another video, another historical look, another genetic look at a population group surrounding the area of the steppes. So, today we're going to look at the Nogai. But before we do that, let me mention something. You know, I'm very surprised at the amount of haters that's been popping up on some of my comments or that I've just been seeing. Please don't get this channel confused. I know my name may be alarming to some of you, but that it might be alarming that I like the Khazars, that I look at them in a positive light. I know that's very different. And you know, I've been meditating lately on why the Khazars get this rep, but not the conversion story in Yemen. It's very interesting. But yeah, please, when you come over here, you know, you're gonna get if you challenge my views, I'm gonna challenge you back. You know, I'm not just up here saying anything. Everything that I say is backed by some type of source. You know, because I'm researching. This whole channel is a research. I'm not claiming to know everything. But what I am doing is sharing the things that I come across. I've come across a lot of things that people don't make videos on, so I'm going to cover it. But anyway, back on topic. We want to touch on the Nogai people today. Now, the Nogai people are a branch forming from the Mongol Empire. The Mongols are one of the successor states to the Khazar Empire. So you have the Khazars, who was ruling the steppe, and then the Rus came and destroyed their government. From then, the Khazars would be scattered, though there would be still a small state in the area of the Kuban River and Crimea, who would later merge into certain khanates, even into certain pieces of the Rus power, even like the Principality of Chernihiv. There's actually a whole situation there where Khazars are fighting with Mstislav of Chernihiv. So maybe that's a story that we can go with. These would be parts of remnants of the Khazars that went abroad and went further west. But Khazars who would have went east or stayed would have been incorporated into these states who formed out of the Mongol Empire, such as the Nogai Horde and the Crimean Khaganate. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The Nogai people are one of the people groups that are searched for when they do studies comparing Khazars to Ashkenazi Jews. If we look here in no evidence for genome-wide data of a Khazar origin for the Ashkenazi Jews. If we go down to page 12, it's talking about some of the samples that are used for potential proxies of Khazar ancestry. South Caucasus, then you have the people groups North Caucasus, and you have some more people groups, but you see Nogai is in the North Caucasus section. We also have Edige, which I want to speak on also in the future. In the Volga region, north of the North Caucasus region, Chuvash and Tatar. We've spoken on those in our past videos. If you'd like to know more about the Chuvash people, please see some of my haplogroup videos. I talk about the Chuvash heavily. Among these three regions, the one considered to best overlap with the center of the Khazar Khaganate is the Volga region, followed by the North Caucasus region. So they're telling you these populations are reasonable to look at to see a proxy for Khazar ancestry. So that's why we're going to look into the Nogai, their successor state. So in our main paper for today that we'll be looking into is called The Origin of Nogai Clans by the Results of Ethnogenomical Expeditions of E.H. Project Suyan. This is from 2016. So let's read some of this paper. We might actually read this whole paper because it's actually not even long. This is a short little piece, but it speaks on migration patterns of certain R1A clades. And I think it makes a lot of sense for origin stories of some Slavs as well. So let's read this. Previous studies have noted among Nogais of Khuban, 25% of carriers R1A M458 subclade. The other 25%, various other R1A subclades, Z280, Z2123, and finally the remaining 50% of all the other haplogroups, R1B, N, D, C, E1B, and others. The ancestors of the Nogais, R1A M458, migrated from the Tarim or Takharistan to the Kuban River in a return migration. This is indicated in A, the limited geography of the far matches for Nogais R1A M458, and B, also of itself a small population of the Nogais of Kuban. The time of this return migration of R1A M458 from Tarim to the Kuban River is difficult to establish because unknown results, different expeditions of the other organizations by DNA testing of all clans of the Kuban Nogais. For example, R1A M458 subclade consists in the clans of Nogais with ethnic name Koran, but this ethnic name is not found among other Turkic peoples. So they're saying that the R1A M458 branch of Nogais came in a return migration. So we see that some of those branches that are not Z93 still came from the east in return migrations. This is interesting to see. They don't know what time this was yet, but as we keep reading, they're going to narrow it down. So we see here, this is them matching the DNA. And we're seeing that even though they come from R1A M458, they match DNA of Tarims with R1A Z93 as well. So let's continue. The R1A M458 subclad migrated to the Tarim in the Bronze Age in the first migration. And we see how even far-reaching the quarter-ware culture goes. And we know that a lot of those people have migrated. So this is the first migration. Moving together with carriers R1A Z93 from the west, from Europe. This first migration was through the southern Urals. And perhaps the results of the paleo DNA of the Misharskaya culture. Excuse me, y'all, if I butchered that. With the R1A Z645 subclade. That subclade, I'm not reading the article here, but that subclade is the father branch to both Z93 and Z282, I believe, which makes Z280. So this is the granddaddy subclade. But it's saying that this one relates to the Proto-Takarian population. The problem still is that researchers cannot tie with Proto-Takarians a specific archaeological culture from the tribes of Androvenal Shrubna ethnic generality. So they don't know it's a certain tribe yet in this culture system, but they know it's the Proto-Takarians. The author of this study links the R1A M458 subclade with the representative of the Takarian Celtic languages, the part of the Centum group of the Indo-European languages. That's interesting to note. And next, the track of return migration of R1A M458 from Tarim to the Kuban River observed among such Turkic peoples as Karakalpaks in the Aral Sea and Bashkirs in the southern Urals. These Karakalpaks and Bashkirs are also from the R1A M458. In R1A M458, YP254 in its clusters. For example, the Bashkirs R1A M458 are reps of the Baron class. This name, Baron, is a name of a Horde clan that's associated with the era of Genghis Khan, from which it is possible to make indirect conclusion that the period of the return migration of the Nogais of R1A M458 to the Kuban River perhaps were in the 13th century AD. So, the geography of return migration are Term or Tatarstan, where you see Uyghurs, the firstborn of Tagarma, in the Aral Sea to the Kakaropaks, to the southern Urals, that's the Bashkirs, to the Kuban River in the northern Caucasus, that's Nogais. So we're seeing with those, even those R1A 645 branches, say that they went over there, they could have mutated into Z 282, which would make R1A M458, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So it's showing you the migrations and how complicated this haplogroup thing is. It's not one group doesn't always have just one group. And with this branch, you also find it in a lot of Czechs, Poles, Russians, Tatars. It's shared. Serbs, Croats, Croatia. So this is something to think about. Even up to the 13th century, there were still migrations of these subclades going. So now let's get to the subclade that I am. And let's read about another story of brothers of mine. And also note the following about Nogais from R1A Z280 subclade. The Nogais of R1A Z280 subclade originate from Nogais clans with the names Kara Seres and Asi. Kara Seres, translated from Turkic languages, which means real or genuine Seres. I also want to make a note here, not reading the article, that Kara also means black. So it could mean the black Seres, which I believe in Turkic, it's not talking about skin color like Americans. It's talking about, or Westerners in general. It's talking about directions. So you had blue I think was north, white I think was east, blue was west. Quote me on this, I gotta re-look into it, but I believe those was the directions. It can also mean classes. Nogais from Asi and Kara Seres clans are descendants of local Scythian and Sarmatian populations of the Kuban River, in which later were included after the era of the Great Migration, which was 2nd BC to the 6th century AD. In the various Turkic tribes, Huns, Bulgars, Polosians, and etc. Polosian, I believe that's the Pechenegs or the Cumans. But it's saying that the Z280 branches were original Scythians and Sarmatians that was there, who were also included into the following populations: Bulgars, Sabirs, Avars, even the Khazars as well. As we read in the genomic breakdown in that video, that they had Sarmatians and Scythians within them. In the 15th century, the descendants of Asi Seres later were in part of the Nogai Horde, and now they are known as Nogai clans, but with their ancient names Asi and Kara Seresi. And then it goes to talk about R1AZ 2123 in the Kuban, which are saying that they had their origin in the Wusun Huns. You can read that last part yourself, and you can also check this link out yourself, because we're going to go into another part now. Because now that we have the names of these Z280 branches, let's look at some quick history of them. You get in just some basic facts. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Seresis first. Ceresi, Ceresini, or Ceresi were a Hellenized Sarmatian tribe that inhabited Sarmatia Asiatica, the coast of Akardos at the Black Sea, north of the Caucasus Mountains, Ceresina. It's mentioned by Teticus as one of their settlements, They were said to be relatively small nation, but with great morale. They were neighbors to the later enemy tribe of the Erosi. Now, I do not know exactly if this Erosi is the same as the Asi, the other tribe that we were just talking about, but it's quite possible, and we're going to read into that when we touch on that tribe. But you see a map of their placements in the 4th century BC. They migrated from the Caspian Sea to the Black Sea region. By the late 4th century, they had occupied lands between the Caucasus Mountains and the Don, becoming masters of the Kuban region. They were the first Sarmatian tribe to have contact with the Hellenic groups on the coast of the Black Sea. In 310 to 309 BC, their king, Aripharnes, took part in the Bosporan Civil War, which was the Bosporan. That was like a Greekish Scythian kingdom, and lost at the Battle of the River Thatis, a tributary of the Kuban River. In the 1st century BC, during the rule of Pharnaces II of Pontus, king of Ceraces, Abiacus organized 20,000 horses after the Roman occupation of the kingdom of Pontus, 63 to 62 BC. They and the Erosi were merchants who traded with goods of Babylonia and India through the Arameans and the Medes with camels. They profited greatly from this, seen in their clothing attributed with much gold. So it's funny, I can't get away from the gold. You know, I'm Mende on one half and Cerace on the other. Loving gold on both sides. So you can read more of this if you want to see more of their fights. But it talks about how they were the most Hellenized of the Sarmatians and had good relations with the Bosporan kingdom. It says Ptolemy mentions their colony in Sinai in the 2nd century. That's interesting. In 193 AD, after another conflict in the Bosporus, the Cerceres disappeared from history. So either they disappeared or perhaps they got merged into the Huns later on. There is one town in Hungary called Sarmatians in Nogai country that still bears their name. So we see they have the connections with the Hungarians. The name Ceraces is thought to have been given to the Sarmatians by the Greeks, and the name Ceraces and Circassians are the same origin. So yeah, look this people up if you want to know more about them. But now we're going to get into the Asi, or the Asani. The Asi, or Asani, an ancient nomadic people of Central Asia, who about 130 BC put an end to Greek rule in Bactria. So this is in Bactria where they started. According to Strabo, Bactria was taken away from the Greeks by 4 nomadic peoples who came from the country north of the Jaxartes. They were the Asoi, Passanoi, Takaroi, and Sakarai Uloi. Excuse me, y'all. He ascribes the conquest of Bactria to 2 peoples only, the Saraki and the Asani. I'm not going to read this whole thing for the sake of the video, but please check out this link. This is iranicaonline.org. I'll have the link in the description. But let me pull out some interesting pieces in here. The scanty information of the classical historians is related by Chinese sources. Between about 174 and 160 BC, the Husinu, the Huns? They're not sure. Of northern China defeated the tribal horde of the Yuezhi and drove them from their abodes in the Kansu province of northwest China. The greater part of the horde immigrated west to Sogdiana and Bactria, where they overthrew Greek rule. Although the reconciliation of the Chinese and the Western sources causes difficulty, the identity of the Yukuchi with the Takari, the Asi, and the rest is established. So we see that they have links with this people. A part of the Asi moved eventually further westward into the Ponto-Caspian steppes, where they constituted a subgroup of or amalgamated with the Alans. And we know the Alans also have relations with the Khazars. It says in modern Ossenic, Asi refers to Turkic Bulgars, who inhabit a territory which until comparatively recent times was an Ossetian possession. So yeah, read through all of this to get some more information. But yeah, that's a quick look on the origins of a couple of tribes in the Nogai Horde, who we know have relations to Khazars, and they turned out to be Scythio-Sarmatians as well. Pray you was edified. Like, comment, subscribe, show love. And until next time, shalom.